7. And his own house hath Solomon built 13 years, and he finisheth all his house. And he buildeth the house of the forest of Lebanon. 100 cubits is its length, and 50 cubits its breadth, and 30 cubits its height, on 4 rows of cedar pillars, and cedar beams on the pillars. And it is covered with cedar above, on the sides that are on the 45 pillars, 15 in the row. And windows are in 3 rows, and site is over against site 3 times. And all the openings and the side posts are square, windows, and site is over against site 3 times. And the porch of the pillars he hath made, 50 cubits its length, and 30 cubits its breadth. And the porch is before them, and pillars and a thick place are before them. And the porch of the throne where he judgeth, the porch of judgment, he hath made, and it is covered with cedar from the floor unto the floor. And to his house where he dwelleth, the other court is within the porch, as this work it hath been. And a house he maketh for the daughter of Pharaoh, whom Solomon hath taken, like this porch. All these are of precious stone, according to the measures of hewn work, sawn with a saw, within and without, even from the foundation unto the coping, and at the outside unto the great court. And the foundation is of precious stone, great stones, stones of 10 cubits, and stones of 8 cubits. And above are precious stone, according to the measures of hewn work, and cedar. And the great court round about is 3 rows of hewn work, and a row of cedar beams, even for the inner court of the house of Jehovah, and for the porch of the house. And King Solomon sendeth and taketh Hiram out of Tyre. He is son of a woman, a widow, of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father a man of Tyre, a worker in brass. And he is filled with the wisdom and the understanding and the knowledge to do all work in brass. And he cometh unto King Solomon, and doth all his work. And he formeth the 2 pillars of brass. 18 cubits is the height of the one pillar, and a cord of 12 cubits doth compass the 2nd pillar. And 2 chapiters he hath made to put on the tops of the pillars, cast in brass. 5 cubits the height of the one chapiter, and 5 cubits the height of the 2nd chapiter. Nets of network, wreaths of chainwork, are for the chapiters that are on the top of the pillars, 7 for the one chapiter, and 7 for the 2nd chapiter. And he maketh the pillars, and 2 rows round about on the one network, to cover the chapiters that are on the top, with the pomegranates, and so he hath made for the 2nd chapiter. And the chapiters that are on the top of the pillars are of lily work in the porch, 4 cubits. And the chapiters on the 2 pillars also above, over against the protuberance that is beside the net, and the pomegranates are 200 in rows round about on the 2nd chapiter. And he raiseth up the pillars for the porch of the temple, and he raiseth up the right pillar, and calleth its name Jachin, and he raiseth up the left pillar, and calleth its name Boaz. And on the top of the pillars is lily work, and the work of the pillars is completed. And he maketh the molten sea, 10 by the cubit from its edge unto its edge. It is round all about, and 5 by the cubit is its height, and a line of 30 by the cubit doth compass it round about. And knops beneath its brim round about are compassing it, 10 by the cubit, going round the sea round about. In 2 rows are the knops, cast in its being cast. It is standing on 12 oxen, 3 facing the north, and 3 facing the west, and 3 facing the south, and 3 facing the east. And the sea is upon them above, and all their hinder parts are inward. And its thickness is an handbreadth, and its edge as the work of the edge of a cup, flowers of lilies. 2,000 baths it containeth. And he maketh the 10 bases of brass. 4 by the cubit is the length of the one brass, and 4 by the cubit its breadth, and 3 by the cubit its height. And this is the work of the base. They have borders, and the borders are between the joinings. And on the borders that are between the joinings are lions, oxen, and cherubs. And on the joinings a base above, and beneath the lions and the oxen are additions, sloping work. And 4 wheels of brass are to the one base, and axles of brass. And its 4 corners have shoulders. Under the laver are the molten shoulders, beside each addition. And its mouth within the chapiter and above is by the cubit, and its mouth is round, the work of the base, a cubit and half a cubit. And also on its mouth are carvings, and their borders, square, not round. And the 4 wheels are under the borders, and the spokes of the wheels are in the base. And the height of the one wheel is a cubit and half a cubit. And the work of the wheels is as the work of the wheel of a chariot, their spokes, and their axles, and their felloes, and their naves. The whole is molten. And 4 shoulders are unto the 4 corners of the one base. Out of the base are its shoulders. And in the top of the base is the half of a cubit in the height all round about. And on the top of the base its spokes and its borders are of the same. And he openeth on the tablets of its spokes, and on its borders, cherubs, lions, and palm trees, according to the void space of each, and additions round about. Thus he hath made the 10 bases. 1 casting, 1 measure, 1 form have they all. And he maketh 10 lavers of brass. 40 baths doth the one laver contain. 4 by the cubit is the one laver. 1 laver on the one base is to the 10 bases. And he putteth the 5 bases on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house. And the sea he hath put on the right side of the house, eastward, over against the south. And Hiram maketh the lavers, and the shovels, and the bowls. And Hiram completeth to do all the work that he made for King Solomon for the house of Jehovah. Pillars, 2. And bowls of the chapiters that are on the top of the pillars, 2. And the nets, 2, to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters that are on the top of the pillars. And the pomegranates 400 for the 2 nets, 2 rows of pomegranates for the 1 net, to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters that are on the front of the pillars. And the 10 bases, and the 10 lavers on the bases. And the 1 sea, the 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots, and the shovels, and the bowls, and all these vessels that Hiram hath made to King Solomon for the house of Jehovah, are of brass, polished. In the circuit of the Jordan hath the king cast them, in the thick soil of the ground, between Succoth and Zarthan. And Solomon placeth the whole of the vessels, because of the very great abundance the weight of the brass hath not been searched out. And Solomon maketh all the vessels that are in the house of Jehovah, the altar of gold, and the table, on which is the bread of the presence, of gold, and the candlesticks, 5 on the right, and 5 on the left, before the oracle, of refined gold, and the flowers, and the lamps, and the tongs, of gold, and the basins, and the snuffers, and the bowls, and the spoons, and the censers, of refined gold, and the hinges for the doors of the inner house, for the holy of holies, for the doors of the house of the temple, of gold. And it is complete, all the work that King Solomon hath made for the house of Jehovah. And Solomon bringeth in the sanctified things of David his father, the silver, and the gold, and the vessels he hath put in the treasuries of the house of Jehovah.